Perfection is not the goal. In fact, it might actually be the thing that is hindering you from your best work. Our creativity thrives the more we are willing to make mistakes. Have you ever abandoned an idea because you got frustrated or it got difficult? Or have you ever not actually even created a work because you were too afraid of how difficult it might be to finish, or you ran into some roadblock and you got frustrated and you decided you sucked? Maybe you felt stupid for even trying. Maybe you compared yourself. But what if you consider the possibility that what you set out to create is actually supposed to be a result of many mistakes? Many plans that you set into motion that turn into problems that you create solutions for, that become this conjumbled mess that just ultimately forms into the finished work. So what if the flaws, the mistakes, the frustration, the roadblocks, the obstacles are actually meant to be embraced? What if that is where the magic occurs? And today I really want to explore why perfectionism kills creativity. It fosters procrastination because resistance builds up inside of us. But you have to break through. You have to be stronger than the forces that keep you stuck, that keep you stagnant. Perfectionism is subjective because it's all based on the individual's perception, and each individual has a different perception of what perfect is. It's subjective, it's unattainable, it's a moving target. Salvador Dali says, "Have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it." That reminds us that perfectionism is paralysis. It's something that we can continue to chase, but that we will never ultimately reach because it's an idea. It's an illusion. And the pursuit of perfectionism can stop us from even starting. Stanley Kubrick, for instance, his filmmaking process kept his films delayed for years and years and years. And while he was producing genius, it also reflects the cost of perfectionism. And if you've seen any interviews about how it was to work with him, you can see that the perfectionism wasn't only a cost to himself. Instead of aiming for perfectionism, aim to start, aim to finish. 3-foot tosses, tangible steps, short-term goals, little tiny decisions over time that you are planting, tending to, fostering, growing, and yielding. And this is the season of yielding. I don't make the rules. Imperfection makes art relatable, and people connect with imperfection because it reflects reality. It reflects human behavior. It reflects life. Life is messy. Life is imperfect. Leonard Cohen has that famous line, "There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." Our flaws is where the beauty leaks in. The pursuit of perfect art, a perfect art, a formulaic art, a vanilla piece of artwork, a safe piece of artwork is forgettable. It can feel sterile, soulless, inauthentic. It's the difference between like a polished CGI heavy film and then a gritty, raw, independent, character-driven piece. The more we are willing to make mistakes, the more our creativity thrives. The more we allow ourselves room to grow and imagine and play and explore and fall and scrape our knees and learn and grow and heal and become stronger artists through it. If you're playing in the same exact sandbox every single day, you're safe. You know exactly what to expect. And if that's what you want, that's totally fine. But you're never going to graduate to the big kid swing set. But I don't know about you. I'm trying to jump off those motherfucking swings. James Joyce says that mistakes are the portraits of discovery. And there's a very famous story that Steven Spielberg couldn't show the mechanical shark in Jaws very frequently because it kept breaking down. So instead, he made the choice not to show it. It became a brilliant choice of direction because the audience couldn't see the shark. It created tension and suspense. It left everything open to interpretation. It created fear. It created fear of the unknown. The audience mind was left to fill in the blanks. Perfectionism stifles growth. It keeps you in a rigid mindset. It leaves you no room for growth or exploration. Creative work is a living, breathing thing. It's never, ever finished. Creative work is a living, breathing thing, and releasing it into the world is a part of the process. Sharing our process is a part of the process. And I believe over time, it's becoming more and more of a service to give back to the community and other artists and keep each other inspired and keep having these conversations. Because when we're over editing or mulling over ideas over and over and over, it strips us of the spontaneity that exists inside of the creativity that's available in the moment. Growth comes from experimentation and pushing boundaries and the limits of your own expectations of yourself and your process, not refining it and worrying about the details over and over and over and over at the hindrance of your own progress. And when we stay open to these creative discoveries and allowing ourselves to fail first or fail forward, or just giving ourselves permission to be bad, allows us the freedom to explore, and actually can often lead to these brand new discoveries that become groundbreaking work that can push forward a conversation or an intention or become the life fuel for another creative. So through that lens, you got to be putting it out there, because it's your responsibility as a citizen. It's your civic duty. It's your civic artist duty. I had an audition recently where I read for the lead in a famous punk band, so I was doing some research on the punk rock movement, and they embrace imperfectionism in order to challenge the status quo, in order to kind of say fuck you to the over polished music of the period. Like when I sing, I get so afraid that I'll miss one note. Go listen to some punk music. It's like true innovation lies outside of the lines of what has been done before. And if we're perceiving our process through the lens of perfection, then we are placing ourselves against the backdrop of a structure that is outdated because it already happened. And whatever you're creating is now, is the present. It's the future. You know, it can be reminiscent of the past. It can be inspired by the past or another artist, but it is moving forward. And in the same way that an artwork is never fully done, how often have you heard a song that has been sampled, remixed, covered? It's been taken and reimagined through the lens of another artist or artists and shared as a whole new work of art. Flaws can become your signature. Think about interesting looking high fashion models, or the fact that every actor I know only ever uses the bad things that have happened in their life as fuel for their work. Jackson Pollock is a great example. He used this drip splatter painting method that was widely criticized but ended up becoming quite iconic. So in conclusion, perfectionism is not the goal. Perfectionism is the enemy of creativity. And by letting go of perfectionism, we allow room for connection and innovation and imagination and exploration and connection and collaboration. Did I say that? Did I say collaboration already? Collaboration is important, so throw that in there twice, 3 times. And I'm curious if there's anything that has been resistant inside of you that's been holding you back. I know there's so much going on inside of me, and the more life I live, the more artists who I connect with and see in a regular basis in my daily life and in my career, the more who I speak to vulnerably and share and open up to, the more I see that we are all struggling from this perfectionism disease, basically. What if we embraced our perfectionism and allowed them to inform the next step in our art, allowed it to just uncover a new layer that we could go deeper into the work, or let it just follow that impulse, just use it? Is there a time you've ever done that? I want to hear about it. Your art doesn't need to be perfect to matter. In fact, it matters more because it's not.